I'm going to go to my channel. Then I'm live, and I got to turn on Do Not Disturb Focus Mode. Good morning, all you cats and kittens. I'm going to throw this back to the days of Tiger King. And let's see, Friday, XOM beats. We're going to do this. Morning, Zephyr. Let me see, where are my notes? What did I write last? No, I wrote TQQ. There we go. Okay, it's updated. I am going to turn that down because all they're talking about is Elon Musk. We'll turn on our light. Honestly, Stefan, I wish I wouldn't have sold my Twitter at 52. I wish I would have waited for 54.20. Talking about social media. Meta's way. I'll talk about it. Here's the thing, and this is between you and I because there's nobody else watching. Meta. Let me turn down the volume. Meta. I think you're going back down to between 40 and 80. That's my opinion. And you know, when we look at it here, I'll look at it here. I think I have it in my list. There we go. It's come back up a little bit, but when we look at this chart, and yeah, I'm on Safari View, you can see there's that gap right there. Down 25%. It got you out, exit. See, here's 134. It got you out. The MACD with that one move is just too far down. Your RSI, everybody's selling. Your RSI's at 21. You could play it for a bounce up. The problem is the news is still out there. I mean, there's as long as the news is out there that he's doubling down. Now, here's kind of, you can bet that, and you can be bullish on Meta if you think the metaverse is actually going to pan out and that his metaverse will pan out. Google, Apple, they kind of own the operating systems. They own, Chromebook, Chrome, your browser, Safari. I use Safari almost exclusively. I'm just not. Yeah. Who is it? Let me see. I was talking about this with. Oh, stop! I don't want you, Corey. Last night on Instagram. Why is my Do Not Disturb is on? So why is the noise coming up? But I was talking about this with Corey on Instagram. He's a big options player. Yeah, I don't think he gets on the YouTube live, but he follows me on Instagram, and he's been doing a bit of gambling this week based on the podcast, and it's worked out for him. So what I want to do though is I want to do a market scan. By the way, Jesse will be happy if he's on. I'm looking at SSDs from my desktop. So if anybody has any, I have these for travel. No, these aren't I have the travel Samsung ones. But I'm looking for desktop SSDs. So if anybody has any suggestions on that, I am open to it. More than open to it, I'm going to buy it. Let's scan for energy. Boy, this one comes up, Chesapeake Energy, all the time. Okay, let me just write this down. Scans. And it is Friday, so And this is energy, PBF. Boy, that's been a nice run. SBR, KNTX. There's nothing there that I really love in energy. We'll go over brokerage holdings. Baba crossed up and is immediately 4.4% down. I'll put in Baba because I do think Baba is a decent trade. I'm not the only one that thinks that. I know there's a few other folks that think that too. You know what I have to add into ENPH, Enphase. I have to add this into my not owned. No. Not owned. There we go. Not owned. Yeah, TQQ. It's interesting because I agree with you, Stefan. I may grab it today. In fact, I have to start Active Trader Pro. Here's one. See, this is what's interesting. Look at Enphase. And the reason why I'm looking at this one is my mother and father. I was talking to them last night about their portfolio, and they're hurting. They're mainly focused on tech, as is mine. They have a different outlook than I do on their portfolio. They should have my outlook, but it just goes to show you that my outlook on my portfolio is, if I lose $1 million, I lose $1 million. I still have good companies with good earnings, with good products, and good management. Amazon, great company, good management. I think Bezos ran it up and hired a shit ton of people and was doing his typical 2000 hey, we're going to run this company like growth is forever. And then left Andy Jassy holding a bag full of basically crap. And Jassy's had to do a lot. And when he left Amazon Web Services, I think they lost a bit of their way. But I would agree with you that the reason why I'm looking at Enphase, by the way, is because my parents' portfolio is heavily viewed on tech, and they're older. They have a good amount of money, but they're losing it. It's it is what it is. But Enphase is a solar, and when I was telling them get into energy, they had Exxon, but they sold out of Exxon, and the reason they sold out of Exxon was they're just anti-oil. They have a Tesla Model X. After I got my Tesla, they do have a Lexus that they barely drive, but it's good to have a second car. They're just anti-oil. They're anti-fossil fuel, and they just don't want to put money into a typically high energy. I started saying, hey, Exxon has more exposure to natural gas, so it's a cleaner fossil fuel. They're at least when you look at their PR standpoint, they're pouring money into claiming that they're a more ESG kind of company, but they were just against it. So Enphase is a solar company. It's an expensive solar company. They just came out with earnings, flying on earnings. The RSI is super high. You had this buy-in at 249. It's up at 306. In fact, you know what? I'm just going to do this on the podcast because I think it's good. Because some people, like me, were hippies. And, I was just talking to Alexis on Instagram, too. And she got out of Exxon. And I got somebody out of Exxon. I think it was Cameron. I said, hey, take the profits. But it's at its 52-week high. It's at its all-time high. $109, and they announced great earnings. It's up 2%. Chevron announced earnings up 2%. It's It's crazy. And the XLE, XLY is down 3% because of Amazon. This is consumer discretionary. And I'm going to work this weekend on two things: the Facebook group, and a new way of analysis. And I'll talk about this on the podcast too, but one of the things that I think I've been shorting a lot of people on is looking at industries, not just, and sectors, not just particular individual stocks, but sectors. Because you can take a sector that's hot, that has a MACD cross up and on a 4-hour or a daily or a weekly, and take a look at that, and then enter individual stocks if you like that sector. It doesn't diversify you, because if you buy like I have consumer discretionary XLY and I have a large amount of Amazon, well, I'm not necessarily diversified in that. It kind of points me towards, even XLK with technology, I'm in Amazon there too. So while you have these ETFs, you're kind of double exposed. So you do get a little bit outweighed, but if you believe in the trajectory that we're in, energy and things should be good up until next year. And at some point next year, energy and the value trade completely stops. Just completely stops. And that signifies a top. Then you get back to growth. So, and that's where your Shopify's, that's where your your Teladocs, your companies that made it through, your Zooms, believe it or not, your Salesforce, that's where those companies start to kind of flourish. But let's get back to scanning. Enphase. Talk about sectors. Talk about next year. I think that's a good one. I'll just make myself notes. Let's see. We looked at not owned and there was nothing. Let's look at the ARCs. I do like and the reason I like scanning for these ARCs, there's nothing in the ARC holdings. But the reason why I like looking at them is because nothing in the Dow. Let's look at the NASDAQ. Dow 30. NASDAQ 100. There we go. Probably nothing in the NASDAQ. Nope. I may have to go into a different sector to actually find something that crossed up. But it's Friday. No. Let's see if, you know what? I'm going to look at Jim Cramer. Jim Cramer crying, man. I tell you what, that inverse Cramer dude, he has gotten so far under Jim Cramer's skin. It is hilarious. I think we're going to go. I like finance. See, but none of these I know. And I don't think it's financials. I think it's finance. Yeah, these are. I could lead everybody wrong on these. They're probably smaller than we want to look at. Because one of the things that I don't want to do is lead somebody into materials might be a good one. Because I think you're starting to see, I don't like either one of those stocks because I just don't know them well enough. Boy, this is going to be interesting. Let's look at the semiconductors. Nothing. Weather futures. Let's see. See, freaking healthcare's a good one. want to talk about something. Jim Cramer, somber face. I want to talk about something. I want to tell you. And by the way, if you notice that little shit, he said, I was wrong. But he didn't take responsibility for it. He basically said, I believed management. I believed them. He basically said, I was wrong, but it's not my fault because they told me. Well, it is his fault. It's 100% his fault. If you believe what they tell you and then you're passing it on to the viewers, and it turns out not to be true, you're responsible. It's my fault. I made a mistake. Douche. I hate that guy. Is this really up 50%? Yeah. NUVL. Boy, this is right up your guys' alley. Nuvalent Healthcare Biotechnology. Let's see what they do. Clinical stage biopharmaceutical company develops therapies for patients with cancer. They reported phase 1 clinical data. They're not making money. But mind you, this thing jumped from 22 to 35. Yeah, you can find big movers like this. And this is why I love TrendSpider. I absolutely love TrendSpider, by the way. I know some of you guys have signed up for it. I'm getting a few more. And Brittany bitch, if you're on here, Brandon, I still have to look at your thing. I am so sorry. I mean, when you sign up for TrendSpider, that should be my number one thing so that you guys have access to it. My apologies. Don't tip me on your next. Your tip is that I was late. I get lazy, and yesterday was a situation where I went for a 5-mile run. Turned out to be like a 7, 8, maybe 9-mile run. I didn't really keep track of it. I went rather slow. Then I went grocery shopping. And by the time I got back from grocery shopping, I was starving because I do what's called intermittent fasting. And yesterday was a day when you run like 7 or 9 miles, you expend a lot of energy. But if you haven't had food for 24 hours, you get to be just exhausted. So my mind was kind of not all there. And I said, I just don't want to go into the office and do a lot of stuff and blah, blah, blah. So my apologies about it, though. Maybe I'll stop calling you Brittany bitch. I'm going to look at Voil. F you, Jesse. I actually had a guy reach out to me yesterday on Instagram on my personal account because he had posted. He's a fairly famous photographer. I won't say who he is because I don't try and talk people that I know, but he's fairly famous. But he wound up he got invited to do a 14er Mount Whitney, and he messaged out if any of his personal friends had ever done 14ers. I've done 4 14ers. Let's see. Grays reached the top. Tories didn't reach the top. Bierstadt, I didn't reach the top, but holy hell, I got one hell of a selfie. And hold on, I'm gonna show you guys this selfie. Let me see. I'm gonna go into, and I did. Let's see. Bierstadt. I think it should show. Snow. Let's see. I'm gonna do snow because I think I should be able to get a good view of it. There's a good photo, but I want to show you the actual photo, not an Instagram. But I did Bierstadt, and then I did Quandary. Here it is. I will show you guys this photo. That is me at the top. I'm about 300 feet from the summit of Bierstadt. We parked way down here. This was 2017, 2016. And yeah, I look like a badass. It's a GoPro that I took a selfie with, but I got snowshoes on. You can see the snowshoes. It was 13 feet of powder, and it was fun. It was fun. But yeah, so he reached out to me and asked if anybody had done 14er. So I told him that I had, and I'm forgetting why I'm telling this story. Because I looked up the picture. God, I love looking at pictures of memories and stuff. It makes me wonder why the fuck I'm lazy now. I just feel lazy. And I don't mean that I'm lazy like I'm lazy compared to a normal American. I'm just lazy compared to when I had energy. Okay, I'm going to start doing the podcast. By the way, TQQQ is down below 20 at 1941. And it's cinching up. The Bollinger Bands are cinching up. I like it under 20. And Zephin, I don't think you're behind the 8 ball by holding that one over the weekend. Okay, the only scan that I got was Baba. That's probably not great. You know what? I'm going to bring up this NUVL. Example of scans on TrendSpider, which now has drawings, trends. Okay. And patterns. Okay. I'm going to bring that up. Okay, let me go about. I'm going to go into the. This is crazy. What's crazy about this one is look at the afternoon. The afternoon candle yesterday. I guess that's pre-market. But the afternoon candle yesterday had a MACD cross up on this. This is one that is now trading at 50 something. But you'd have to follow, biopharmaceuticals, and I think there were folks talking about this earlier. I don't follow that stuff. Okay. Let us go into GarageBand. Where is my GarageBand? There it is. Okay. I'm going to throw this back to Netflix days. Good morning, all you cats and kittens. I think that's what Carol fucking Baskin used to say on Netflix, Tiger King. And the reason I'm throwing it back to that is because, Amazon. Let's look at Amazon's chart. Amazon is going to be down, and this was part of the earnings. They missed, and they guided down 5%. 5% is what they guided down for the next quarter. Here's the thing. You guide down 5%. I would kind of expect you to be down 5%. You guide down 5% and you're down 20%. I think that's an overreaction. Right now, you're down, it looks like about 14% in pre-market, about 95. I looked at this chart and I looked at some of the live stuff and I said, I think 90 is your price point. 90 is the pivot where I would say, it's a good buy below 90. A great buy below 90. But it's a good buy even 90 to 100. Because if you have a stock that prior to earnings is trading around 114 and they got down by 5%, that's about $100 stock. I mean, again, Do you think Amazon is going to, all of a sudden go to zero? The problem that you have is here. If we go back to a weekly, I will show you where we're at. If we go down to about, say, 95, you're back to pandemic levels. You are back to 2018, September 2018. So if you bought this in 2018, you were down until 2020, and it finally looked before the pandemic like you were going to be fine. And then all of a sudden the pandemic hits and you're back down to where you were and you're breaking even. You're even losing because it got down to 81. Then all of a sudden you've got a great stock because you're up near 200, 164. And remember, this is post-split prices. So then you've got it capitulating, and then we start this year. And in January, I would say November, you really start seeing a downtrend of this stock. And let's get some hope, because in July, you start coming back. And then now, all of a sudden, we've hired too much. There's too much cost in the business. We're not seeing the e-commerce. AWS isn't growing as much. We're back down here. So you've been on this roller coaster ride. And here, this right here, this is 95. Right now, the stock is trading at 95.88. That's where you were at before the market opens. It ain't going up to 100 before the market opens. But this is why I say $100 is probably a good pivot point, but I think 90 is probably a better pivot point because their costs are so high. If we go over here and we look at Amazon, their PE is 99. Their forward PE is 48. That's fine if you're growing. If you're growing at 30 and 40%, you're fine. No problem. The problem is they're not growing at 30, 40%. So even here, they were growing at 30, 40%, and you constantly just saw the run up. But, if we take this volume shelf back here and we put that. So that's everybody who bought in 2017. And this was September 10th, the week of September 10th, 2018. Your high during this period was $100.44. Your low was $95.85. You closed at $98.51. We're going to open up at 95. 96 maybe 97. It's kind of coming. It has been bouncing back. It got down to 90. I think 90 is your price point because if for some reason everybody starts selling this one again, I think you'll see below 90. But below 90, I think you're still good because, again, that 200-day is going to be kind of a support window. Right now, it's going to pose some resistance on a weekly basis. It's really the 21-day that's posing the real resistance, that yellow line. If we zoom in here, you can see that yellow line, which is right about 124, had some significant resistance. The 9-day was kind of pushing it. It was trading on the bottom of both of these lines, towards the bottom of the Bollinger Bands. They're syncing up right now, but you're going to see a pretty big gap. And this candle is just going to become huge because this candle is still in the works, the week of October 24th. This candle will go down and it will be below this Bollinger Band. You do have some support here way back from September at about 95, but you've got so many more people who are holding up here at 150. I think that's where you get attracted to long term. Remember, this is a weekly chart, so this is a long-term outlook. That 200-day is going to provide you some type of magnet in a stock that's as big as this. So Amazon, I'd say, if you don't have a position in it, start adding to it. If you do have a position in it and you want to make it bigger, I'd add to it as well. I just, I can't imagine. I can see it going down to this 85. I can see it between 85 and 95. You can absolutely 100% see it. And with that PE ratio being so high, I continue. And by the way, they got it down 5% in the quarter. That should be their biggest because that's Christmas time. That's the problem that you're seeing is this is Christmas, and they're guiding down for Christmas. So the market's going to just take them down. Before we get to my granddaddy of them all, I'll bring up Intel. Intel reported they beat and guided up. So they're actually being rewarded in the pre-market. Let me see where they are in the pre-market. They increased their dividend, I believe. They announced all of their purchase buybacks. They closed at $26.27. They're trading at $27.67 in the pre-market. So this is one, there's not a big short interest, believe it or not, because it's been beaten down so much. Their ex-dividend date is coming up on November 4th. So if you buy it now, I think you might have 27 in the realm. It's not a huge bump up, but it's been beaten down so much that I think this is just one that, it might capitulate here between the 20 and 30 range. Let's see. The Intel's PE ratio is 5. Qualcomm, which is one that I do like, their PE ratio is 10. And if we look at Qualcomm's chart, Qualcomm took a beating yesterday, I think. Yeah, they got the button hook. You had the entry in here at 111. It hasn't gotten you out. They're at 114. And let's see, where's Qualcomm trading in the pre-market? In the pre-market, Qualcomm is right at, they closed at 114.70. They're at 114.50. Their earnings are coming up next week, November 2nd. I would expect this one to post, based on what Intel posted, I would expect Qualcomm to post something pretty good. And remember, they have to, Apple has to renegotiate their contract with Qualcomm. Qualcomm has self-driving. Qualcomm has a lot of things going for them. Android, I think their Snapdragon is the main chip in Android. So I think if it were me and I were playing the chip sector, this one does have a button hook coming here. So I don't know that I'd buy it right now. But being that November 2nd, they do have earnings and their RSI is trending down, I think that might be a good opportunity for you. I've loved Qualcomm all the way since 170. Honest to God. You can see this chart. I think I brought up Qualcomm here in March at 150. I think I brought it up here at 120, and it rode all the way up. But I've continued to say this one with the low PE, with the good positivity, it still hasn't filled this gap all the way up. Well, I guess it has. It's filled that gap. But I do think that you have an opportunity here in Qualcomm. Intel, are they going to be able to catch AMD? Are they going to be able to catch Qualcomm? One other one that I do like that's been beaten down is Micron, MU. This one, the algorithm has you in at 55, but it's trading at 52. You had that button hook there. This has just been taken down, and you had the MACD cross down. You'll probably get out of this within either today or tomorrow, or I'm sorry, Monday. The RSI is at 39. I like this company. MU, let's look at their PE. They're at a 6 PE. They have a 0.88% dividend. So it's not a huge dividend, but I like the company. You can see they're trading at the top of the trend line. They kind of broke the trend line, but they're breaking it down on the downside right now again. So of all the chips, I think I like Qualcomm the best. I still have AMD. I still own AMD. I don't own NVIDIA. NVIDIA is the king daddy of long-term play. And it was funny because I was reading about this article yesterday with Facebook and Meta, and I'll kind of go over Meta because I'll go over my hypothesis on Meta that I just did on YouTube. But with Facebook spending $10 billion on the metaverse, NVIDIA is probably the biggest beneficiary of that because Facebook uses NVIDIA chips in their metaverse servers. And if they're spending $10 billion on the metaverse, they're building out those servers, which means that money, it's not like market cap, which just gets evaporated, meaning that when your stock goes from 300 down to 100, essentially, that market cap just goes up in flames. You just lose that money. But the $10 billion that they're spending on the metaverse, that goes into other companies. So NVIDIA is one of the biggest beneficiaries of that. And if we look at just overall, one that I tell you guys to trade all the time, SOXS and SOXL, this is one that has a button hook here at 852. If you got in at 727 or $7 range, I'd probably look at maybe taking some off the table. Even though you don't necessarily have a 10% move, you probably still do have 10% in this one. You traded all the way up to 967. It didn't fill this gap. I thought it would. It didn't fill it. Still has some confirmation, but I'd probably take some off just because it's a Friday. And you don't know what's going to happen over the weekend. You just don't. So I do like, from a chip perspective, I do like SOXL. I won't buy it today, but I do like that one. Once we get a little bit more clarity about where this button hook is going, I think that's a good one. Pinterest, of all the social media companies, Pinterest is one that blew things away. And let's see, they were up 10% as of the last time I looked them. Pinterest is up at 24. So they're up like 11% in pre-market. From 21.89, you're at a 21.73 right before earnings. This was on October 26th, so 2 days ago. 21.73 was the cross up. I don't think I brought this one up. I think I brought it up about here when Snap on October 24th, when Snap said they were reporting. Again, this one, the algorithm loses you 85%. Just buying and holding loses you 63%. There's 38 positions. You only win 18% of the time. Your average win is 8.28%. This is one with a hostile management group that's kind of making them cut costs, but it seems like it's working. So Pinterest is one where I do think that it's working. I don't use Pinterest, so it's not one that I'm going to throw some money into. Of all the social medias that I use, I think Facebook is the biggest one, and I've had several people ask me, is Facebook, is it good to throw money at Facebook right now? Let's kind of, the elephant in the room. You can see it is down significantly. Let's see, let's point this out. So we'll take the bottom of this candle, which is at 128, and we'll go to the top of this candle, which is 103. You are 20% down. Let me take a drink of water because that was a lot. 20% down. And that's just taking the bottom of one candle, and you timed it, by the bottom of one the top candle and the top of the bottom candle, which means there's no way you time that, which probably means you're down more than 20%. Remember, I'm down 50% on this one, 60, maybe 70% on this one. I'm holding at 300. We looked at long term. For you to throw money at this, you have to believe that Mark Zuckerberg is right. And now in social media space, he has been right. In the past, he bought Instagram for $1 billion. He bought WhatsApp. He's done some very, very good things in a very short period of time. This was a $1 trillion company. You can't turn your back on him because he has done some things well. The problem is he's not reading the room. And that's my take on this. The room is saying nobody wants the metaverse right now. Nobody wants avatars with no legs. And we went over this. I showed a video yesterday on YouTube Live. These people were in the metaverse. And the one dude's like, well, why can't I have legs? And then they explained it that the Oculus and the headset has cameras, but it can't track legs. It can track your body. So it knows your movements of your hands and things like that. But when you're walking around, you look like the guy in Shallow Hal. And if you haven't seen Shallow Hal, pull that movie up. It is an absolute classic. I think it's Jack Black's absolute best movie, my opinion. But yeah, so is Facebook investable here? I think your pivot point is probably 94. Like I said yesterday, there is some support at 94. But we talked about 2018 with Amazon. You were at 2018 levels. These levels for Facebook, you're all the way back at 2015. So just to give you a perspective, the 200-day is still moving fairly positive. It just got the death cross, and I'm looking at a weekly chart. Just got the death cross of the 50-day crossing the 100 earlier this month. It is trading significantly below the Bollinger Bands. If you were to believe that, I honestly, the stock has never traded this poorly. So I don't think that there's an opportunity here. I think you could trade it on a short-term basis. But from a buy and hold perspective, I don't think so. That's just my opinion on this one. I don't think it's one that you buy and hold. The one that held up the absolute best of the big tech earnings is Apple. Apple is up 1.13% in pre-market. They sold off to just under 140 in the pre-market, and it was late yesterday when the earnings were announced. iPhone revenue was a little bit of a miss. Services margin was a little bit of a miss, but they gave pretty good guidance. And so Tim Cook kind of managed this one fairly well. They do have some issues with China. They do have some issues with the iPhone 14 demand, but the iPhone 14 Pro and Pro Max, there's no demand issue. They can't make them fast enough. So I do think that you have an opportunity here. In my personal opinion, anything between 140 and 145, I think that's a good entry point for Apple. This leads me into my next discussion about, okay, what's next for Apple? What's going to be the catalyst? What's pushing this one back up to 180? And you've got a couple of things. You got a car announcement that most likely is coming up in the next year, if not 2 years. The rumor on the street is that Tim Cook wants one more major product launch before he retires. He is very close to retirement. He's been in this position. They've outlined, I think there's 2 people who probably will take over. I don't know the guy's name, but he's a gray-haired guy, very slick, very much in the Tim Cook style of management, where very laid back, not in the Steve Jobs style of management where he's accepting emails from customers who are telling him that shit doesn't work. And Steve Jobs is just basically replying back, no, you're dumb. You don't know how it works. I love that stuff, by the way. If you ever want to just Google Steve Jobs emails, he's brutal to customers. He's like, yeah, you're just dumb. He was great. I mean, he wasn't. Tim Cook has done a phenomenal job with Apple in his tenure, from a stock and a PR standpoint. Steve Jobs did a phenomenal job in a product standpoint, and launching and finding out. He identified things that people wanted before even people knew what they wanted. So he did great there. But in order to get this catalyst up, what do you have to have happen? And you have to have either you're growing your revenues, you're growing your margins, you're growing some type of thing. And I think Apple's going to struggle in that. So if you want to, I'm not selling my Apple. I'm not pulling out of Apple. I don't think Apple's going back to 100. I think it's probably going to 160 before it goes to 120. That's a personal opinion, and I hope that I'm right just from my portfolio standpoint. But where would you put your money other than Apple? And that kind of leads me to one other thing about where should your money go? Well, if you have cash, and you should always have, financial analysts always say, hey, have 6 months of cash backup. So don't put your money in Apple thinking that, Apple's going to stay, because we could have a complete market meltdown. For instance, and this is just a for instance, I listened to My First Millions podcast, and Jordan, who's the creator of Oculus, was on there, and he's now owns a defense company. And he said, and great episode, by the way, and I think I posted it on my Twitter. But if you have any questions, just hit me up on socials. I'll send you the link to it. Great. It's towards the end of the interview where he brings up, hey, China, Apple is owned by China. So say, for instance, and this is just an example, Biden, and this is the fact is Biden has put chip restrictions where we can't export chips to China. Well, say China wants to hurt an American brand. Apple is the number one American brand. It's the largest company in the world. They do 80% of their business, 80% of their manufacturing in China. That's just not something that you can pick up and move. So maybe China says, you know what? We've got this Apple, all the technology. We're not allowing Apple to export iPhones. We're going to keep them in the country. Boom. All of a sudden you've got a problem. And by the way, if you think that China isn't aggressive towards things, look at the Elon Musk Twitter takeover. They have now gone on a PR offensive that they are very thankful that a friendly voice in the United States, meaning Elon Musk, has taken over. Musk ain't going to talk out about the Chinese government. Musk has already proposed a China takeover of Taiwan that is a kind of a appeasement of China taking over Taiwan. And if you look at the history, it's funny because Johnny Harris, if you want to just Google Johnny Harris and China, he's got a great video about how China's PR is that, hey, we are this one unified country and we just want to reunify it. Well, Taiwan has never really been a part of China. They've always wanted to be independent. They just have never had the power to do it. So the United States is really kind of tied up in that. If China decides to take back over Taiwan, we've got a chip problem because we still manufacture chips in Taiwan. So there's all these kinds of things that are happening. And I think in the middle of this is the great American company named Apple. And so Apple's in this tough thing. So I'm not telling you to put your money in there. There are a couple of great places to put your money if you have savings that you want short-term access to. Online banks are giving up to 4% in a savings account. So you don't have to buy bonds. You don't have to buy the 2-year treasury. 2-year treasury bond is great because you don't pay taxes on it. You still pay taxes on any interest that you get in savings, but you have access to your money in savings. That's a big difference. So if you're looking for interest, I'll maybe look for a place maybe that gives me a royalty if you sign up and I send you over there. But I'll look for some banks if you guys want me to. It's a great option for cash. Today is the last day that you can sign up for iBonds at the 9.6% annual yield. Remember, iBonds, you're tied up for at least a year. And if you sell within 2 years, you have to give up the last 3 months of interest payments. But they are tax-free. It's 9.6%. The problem is going to be getting to the website. The Federal Reserve has said, hey, we're not extending the iBond date. There was an assumption because the website has had so many problems that they would extend it past today. They will not. And good luck in getting on that website. So I don't want my money tied up. I'd rather go for the 4% interest rate. If I need the money, I can actually have it. I'd rather trade the money. I mean, honestly, that 20% that I use to kind of day trade and stuff like that, I think I can beat that 9% annual interest rate. But that's just my ego speaking. There was a Twitter account, and I want to bring him up because he has been fairly right on. Peru, P-U-R-U, Saxena. And if you guys don't follow him, you probably should. You can see he's kind of saying, and I'm bringing this up on screen, but one tweet that he did last night was the smaller, younger growth stocks were murdered earlier this year, and now the generals of the army are finally getting shot. The generals are breaking down to multi-year lows, but the best growth stocks are still trading comfortably above their spring-summer lows. He's talking about stocks like Shopify. He's talking about stocks that maybe aren't making money, but they're probably going to survive, if not thrive, going forward. And you can see his portfolio. He's very open about things, but he's great. I'll kind of, just look at my account and you can see PURUSAXENA is his name on Twitter. If you want to follow him, he's fantastic. Shopify is one that I completely missed yesterday. They had earnings. There was a cross up here at 27.86. Longtime listeners of the podcast will know that back in April, I said, hey, Shopify, seasonality for Shopify. And let's look at this. I will bring this all the way back to 2015 when they IPO'd. And in April, you had this was 100% for the past 7 years. This was 100%. April was a win where you started out and you made money. So I led people into Shopify in April. And I said, there's no way you're going to lose money. Look at all of these months where it's positive. Even November, 86%. But am I putting money into Shopify? I don't know. I mean, if you think we're going to continue up, I don't think 34 is crazy for Shopify. This has long been thought to be the small business winner like Amazon. But when you look at April in this stock, I got this completely wrong. April 1st, you were trading at about 70, just below 70. The low was 68.29. You go to the beginning of May, April 29th, you're at 44. So it was a significant downslide. There was no winning in this stock. I kept talking about it on the podcast. I said, God, it's just gotten beaten down so much. It's got to go up. It's got to go up. It just never did. And again, I have several friends who have started drop shipping businesses, and Shopify just makes it so easy. And they are a fantastic business. If you're a small business, you don't have an IT staff, you don't have a social media campaign, you want to do some direct business, you want to have a website with some payment things, Shopify just makes it easy. It's unbelievable. But what Peru is talking about are stocks like this. And essentially he's saying, now that these have been beaten up, you're going to see the movement in these. The mob was mocking these as bag holders of hypergrowth tech names. These people are now realizing that in a bear market, everything gets hit. The same mob is now hiding in energy stocks. Energy is a late cycle mover. It usually tops out in the end. If history is any guide, if we get a recession in the U.S. next year, energy stocks will get murdered over the following months. In a bear market, everything gets hit. So while I tout energy, I'm taking Peru's advice and I'm watching it cautiously. That leads me into CVX, which is Chevron. Blew out earnings. They're up 2%, 3%. Let's look at this one. This one still has great confirmation above that 9-day. Look at this. We had a buy-in here at 148. There is no reason why I didn't load up the Brinks truck at 148 other than, maybe it could have moved down. But I said 150 was its price, under not even 150. Under 160 was a buy, over 160 was a sell. Right now, there's no reason to sell. You still have confirmation on this chart. Their earnings are done. So the next catalyst is the ex-dividend date, which I think is coming up. Let's see, because I don't think they raised the dividend. Exxon raised the dividend. We'll go over Exxon's chart in a little bit. But CVX, their ex-dividend date is 11/17. They'll pay out on 12/12. So if you want to buy it here at 180, you're still going to get a 3.19% dividend just in December. And it's 3.19% annualized. They'd pay it quarterly. So you're going to get a quarter of 3.19. That's a great, again, energy in my mind. Remember, with oil in particular, you've got a supply-demand issue. And even going into December, if the EU follows through and they wind up doing the embargo and the sanctions against Russian oil, you're going to have to count on the Saudis as our friends who have shown they are not friends to the West to actually increase production. Well, remember, Russia is part of OPEC. So if there is a sanctions against Russia, why would the Saudis go and say, hey, we're going to pump more oil to be friendly to the West? And by the way, that's if they can pump more oil. There's a lot of questions as to if they can at all. They might be at their top production. And if you think that Exxon said it very clearly today, the CEO was on CNBC. He said, we are making record capital dollars into the system, but it takes a long time to get pumping from where you throw in capital dollars. So Chevron, still a buy. Exxon beat. They are up 3% at 110, all-time high. Let's look at here. We'll go to a monthly chart of Exxon, and look. This stock has never been this high. It finally got above its 200-day in the last couple of months. It looks like it passed in February. It's all-time high. I mean, normally I would say there's no way you hold this one. No way you hold this one. But again, in December, you may have a shortage of oil. And what these guys did and what they showed was, even though the price of oil went down in the quarter, they were able to leverage natural gas, the increase in natural gas, and they were able to leverage better operations, costing them less, making them more. That's what Exxon did. So you do have some additional earnings coming up in energy. Viper is one that I bring up all the time. It's got a 9% dividend. November 7th is their earnings. They are trading a little bit down, it looks like. They still have confirmation above that 9-day, but they're at an all-time high too. Let's see. Let's look at their 52-week. And 52-week high is 35.85, and they're at 32 right now. So this is one that has a 9% dividend, and their earnings are coming up. COP, ConocoPhillips. This is one that is a driller of oil. You've got it right above that 9-day, and their earnings are coming up November 2nd. You had a buy-in here at 106. You're at 128. Devon Energy, they're up 1.36% in pre-market. In actually, the market's open, so they're up 1.45. Their earnings are coming up November 1st. Again, these are super, super expensive stocks. Occidental Petroleum, they're up 1.66 at a high. Well, their high back here was 77. So they're not quite at their 52-week, but there's no reason to think that they're not going there. And their earnings are coming up November 8th. So Chevron and Exxon have shown these guys have taken cost out of the business. So even when the price goes down, they're showing their profits are going up. So I did talk to my parents, and speaking of energy, I talked to my parents last night, and they're kind of hippies. They just don't want oil and gas, and they don't want fossil fuels. And my dad is very, very kind of focused on that. He had Exxon, and this kills my mom. He bought Exxon when I bought Exxon. My average purchase price for Exxon is $40, and I think it was last year in June or July. I bought a ton of Exxon. And I said, Dad, it's $40. Oil's going to go up. With the world reopening, I said, there's no way it's not going to go up. So you got to buy this. And I said, while you're waiting for it, it's giving you a good dividend. I think it dipped down when we bought it at like 40, 42, somewhere in that neighborhood. It dropped down to like 35, 36. It may have gotten down to 32. Let's see. I will look at it. Let's look at it weekly. I will tell you let me see. I will tell you when I purchased it. I know it was June of last year, but I'll tell you exactly what I spent on it. Because he gave it up at a loss. And my mother was screaming at him last night. How'd you give that one up on a loss? Let's see. My tax lots. Acquired 6/17/2020 at an average price of $47.24. So 6/17/2020. That is right here. Right here. Look at how far it dipped down. So I didn't make money for 4 months, but I got a nice dividend. And I was like, you know what? It's okay. It's going to come back. I didn't time this one right at all. I didn't continue to buy. I saw that the Bollinger Bands were syncing up. I didn't try and time it. I just knew that the industry energy was one of those things where it was going to come back. And this was in the middle of the pandemic, and oil wasn't getting used. Well, what did you think? It was going to get used. That was just my thought. I didn't add to the only times I've added to this was the dividend reinvestment. Now you're up here. Well, my parents said, we don't want to invest in oil and gas. We don't like that. So one of the ones that I told them is ENPH, Enphase. It's a solar stock, so it does have some exposure to energy. And if you want to look at other stocks and you're against oil and gas, look at some of the components of XLE, because solar stocks and renewables are in XLE as well. But you can see Enphase just reported their earnings. They gapped up, huge run. I don't think that you buy it up here. The RSI is at 76. This is 100% just a kind of a pump up from their earnings. I think you'll get down here closer to probably 275. Right about 280 probably with that. Let's pull the volume weight a little bit closer. We'll go back here to September. I do think you've got probably this shelf right here at 291. I think you'll pull back about there. I think that would be a good price pivot for it, about 290. But if you're kind of a hippie and you don't want to do oil and gas, I'm particularly here to make money. I put some of my environmentalism on the side in the fact that we're going to need oil and gas for the next 20 years, 25, maybe 30 years. It's not going away. I think it's energy companies will need to change the way they get energy. So Enphase is a good one. Do your research about it. Look into it. And talking about energy, one of the things that I'm going to do in the future, probably next week, and I may do it this weekend, but again, I'm lazy. I want to talk about sectors and how you can find some stocks within sectors that maybe you agree with and maybe you can invest in. And so what I'm going to do is break down some sectors, some industries, and maybe look at some of those ETFs. And what I'll start doing is maybe on a Friday, when I tell you guys, hey, I don't know that you necessarily want to buy on a Friday, we'll look at a sector that had a good week. And we'll look at maybe some of the stocks within that sector that might be beaten down and might be coming back. And so, I already talked about next year with Peru's advice, bringing in and looking at sectors. We might be able to try and look at energy when it actually turns down to actually get out of there. Maybe the financials would take off. There's a clear definition over the past 2 weeks that industrials, materials, things of that sort, they're actually doing better than high growth tech. You saw it this week with Apple, with Microsoft, with Google, with Facebook, with Amazon. All of those got beaten up. Well, maybe they don't lead in the next 2 to 5 years. Maybe industrials like Caterpillar, like Deere, like things of that sort, maybe they lead, because maybe those are more things that we need from a, hey, we're going to rebuild our infrastructure. And maybe that's a better investment going forward. I don't know, but it's worth kind of quote unquote looking at. So one of the things that I'm going to try and do is look at that. One stock that I am obsessed with is BOIL. I am absolutely obsessed with BOIL. Yesterday, I just got completely obsessed with looking at it. It's trading at $35 right now. Let's look. And I'm going to bring you into Active Trader Pro. Do I mind holding BOIL over the weekend? That's the real question. You can see it open down. This is after hours. The shading is after hours. This is a 1-minute chart. It opened down to about 34.20. It opened up at 34.32. It's at 35 right now. It's capitulating. It does have some confirmation over the 9-day and traded up into the upper Bollinger Band. This is where I'd like to buy it, and I'd like to see that turnaround. I don't mind maybe getting in on this candle, missing some of the run, maybe at 34.60, and then trying to, get out. So every time you see this, maybe you hold it for 10 minutes and you get in and out. And you might miss it, but look at that MACD up there. It's going to come down. So you're going to hit the bottom of this. So my guidance on this one, I talked about it yesterday, that there's, what is it? Let me look at my notes. 2 million tons of liquid natural gas in floating storage off the European coast. That's not good for natural gas. And natural gas, I think, in this country is trading at about 5 at its high. When you saw BOIL, we'll go back to the Safari view. When you saw BOIL up here, it was at $8. You're at 5 about now. So you're down here. You still have this 39.56. You're still in this trade. But there's a gap down here at about 33.65. It's clear that as we've come down, that's in play right now as we've come down below the 9-day. I didn't think it was in play because you were above the 9-day here, October 26th, 2 days ago. Even yesterday, I was like, God, it can't be, losing its steam that quickly. But you're seeing the Bollinger Bands pick up. This bottom part of the Bollinger Band here is going here. If we pull this back, let's pull this back to more recent highs so we can see. We'll pull this back here. The last time it really hit about 49. You can clearly see that there is a volume shelf right here at about 37 to 38. That would be where I would expect it to go once it does fill this gap around 33. And I don't know that it's necessarily going to fill that. Do we get back above the 9-day? This candle this morning is super, super tight. There's, you opened up at 34.42. Your high is 35.20. You're trading at 35.10 right now. Your low is 34.32. So you've just been going up through today. It's only 1%. It's very early. You're only, 15 minutes in. But I'm obsessed with BOIL, and I may buy it. The other one that I'm obsessed with is TQQQ. I said under 20, go and buy it. Right now, you're trading at $20.40. I don't think that it's over. Let's go back to Active Trader Pro, and I will pull up TQQQ. And TQQQ under 20. I think, again, the VIX is at 26. I think it wants to go to 30 at some point, but I don't think we're done with this run. Look at that run. If anybody got it, BS. I'm busy doing this podcast. Zevin got in under 20. You bastard. But under 20. It's going under 20 right now. In fact, it's losing its steam. Wow, look at that current candle. Something happened. But yeah, it's down at $20. Crazy. But under 20 is where you want it. I think I wouldn't mind holding this over the weekend if you get it under 20, because it's sometime next week. We're going to 20, I think Amazon will recover. I think Facebook will recover. I think your Google will recover. I think your Microsoft will recover. And those are main components of TQQQ. Did this freeze, or I think it's frozen? Hold on. Let's look at Meta. Did it freeze? No. Oh, but I got to restart this thing. Let's go back to Safari. So with that, I will bring back up Active Trader Pro so we can look at it on YouTube Live. But scans. There were 2 scans that I found. And one is BABA. And do I think you should buy BABA? Probably not. I mean, you can trade BABA, but I don't think it's a good investment. It's down 3%. It did have a MACD cross up at 65.88. It's trading at 63. So it doesn't look like it's a absolute 100%, oh my God, it's going to recover buy. But that's a good guidance as to, I think it's going to pop again. Do I know that it's going to pop again? Hell no. I mean, look at this stock. You're in the middle of a downturn. It started to recover this gap here between 64 and 69. So it's still got a gap between 69 and 71. It's still got that gap. At some point, I think it's going to cover that one. So if you're buying here at 63, you could probably fill that gap. But another one, and when I was doing on YouTube Live, if you guys were watching, I think there were only 4 of us. It was early this morning. But I was scanning, and I was using TrendSpider to scan. And one of the places that I scanned this morning, because I just couldn't find a lot, was healthcare. And healthcare brought up a lot of the biopharmaceutical stocks. And one that is a cancer research stock that just entered phase 1, NVUL, Nuvalent. And put it into FinViz. It's not making money. It's up 15% year to date, and that's before January. It was trading at about 11, so the 15% is as of yesterday's close. So it was trading at 11, ran up to 20. So that's where it was trading. Yeah, it looks like it was trading, about $12, and now it's up at 19. It was 19.20, somewhere in that neighborhood yesterday. It is now at 35. And if we scroll down here, you can see preliminary phase 1 clinical data from Arrows trial that supports best-in-class potential of NVL 520 for patents. It's a cancer drug. It's running. But TrendSpider allows me to see anything that crossed up. So when we look at this one, it's ironic. Your entry is 22, which is crazy because, who would have known? If you're following biopharmaceutical, you would have known that they had the cancer drug, and you would have probably seen this MACD cross up from yesterday, right before they announce. Well, I didn't, but TrendSpider is great to launch this. The other thing that TrendSpider has is automatic drawings of trends and patterns. Let's go to my profile and we can look. I got to change that banner. There's BWin, there's Uber announcement, there's Peru's Halloween candle. Automatically analyze and paint complex triangle patterns on any chart or scan the market for them in real time. Your triangles are ascending, descending, and symmetrical. These will help you trade. These are incredibly useful tools. This is a great option, again, in TrendSpider that TrendSpider has, and it automatically draws it. I would show it to you, but you're better off just going to the YouTube channel of TrendSpider and looking at their example of it. It is phenomenal, and it is great. I haven't used it yet. I may use it in trading today. By the way, one that I DraftKings has been on a run. 1335 right there. You've got all kinds of support here for DraftKings. Wow. Apple. Apple is up 4%. I don't know what the hell happened with Apple. It is up at 150. I continue to say 140 is your buy, but 150. People obviously like the quarter. AMD is up 4%. SOXL, this is probably off of AMD. Their earnings are coming up next week, November 1st. SOXL, let's go over to Active Trader Pro so I can show you TQQQ. And we will look at TQQQ. It just, again, I probably need a new computer. But TQQQ, it's come down a little bit. I continue to say your open today was your day range $19.71 to $20.56. Buy it under 20. I think you buy this one under 20, and I think you're fine. That's my guess on it. But again, you go to 20, you buy it under 20, sell it at 22. At some point, it's going to hit 22. The NASDAQ is low enough, and it's been beaten up enough that I think you're going to see a comeback from these stocks. The VIX is down 2.45%. So if we look at UVIXY, I think I said yesterday, when UVIXY gets under 10, I think UVIXY is a buy. It's on its way under 10, $10.18. I think that VIX is going to continue to go down. And I think you're going to see that MACD cross up right now? You could scalp this one probably from 10.18 to probably 10.20, 10.30. It's not a huge move, but every, 10 cents is what? 1%? Get 1, 2% on this one. I don't think you have, look, it's trading below its confirmation. You have to wait for the confirmation. But when this one gets below 10, I think you trade that one. Let me see if I don't have anything else to bring up other than thank you for listening. I think I've rambled on long enough. I think you guys have listened long enough. It's about an hour. If you have any questions, please review the podcast. Give it 5 stars. That's all I ask. I know in Spotify where you listen, you just kind of go up there and give it 5 stars. It's easy. And if it's 1 star, don't rate me. Just don't rate me. Don't bring me down. Positivity, people. Positivity. I got to start that podcast. So rate it 5 stars. If you're in Apple, good luck in finding the rating. I hate that Apple podcast app. I love the Spotify app. The Spotify app is so much better than Apple Podcasts. Spotify, and I want to say that Spotify will actually dominate, but Apple's got so much money. Apple's just, and their podcast app is free. You don't need Apple Music. Spotify, you have some commercials on there. I think if you don't subscribe, I'm a subscriber, so I don't know. By the way, Amazon is up at 100. It's coming back. So good luck. Have a great weekend. Do exercise this weekend. Get yourself in shape. Vote. If you didn't see Richard Barron, who I co-host the Election Insider with, he was on Anderson Cooper last night. I posted the link to watch his clip. He talked about election and kind of all these people showing up with body armor and AR-16s and blah, blah, blah to ballot boxes. It's a mess. But go out there, vote. Don't let anybody tell you not to vote. Vote your conscience. I don't care who you vote for. Doesn't matter to me. Just vote. 60% of the people in this country don't vote. In many places, I think Fulton County got it up to about 65% of the people voting when Rick was maybe 70%. So he was a great elections director, and politics pushed him out. So vote, because the people, not only in the national elections, but the local elections are even more important. Do a little bit of research, take 5 minutes. It doesn't take that long. And pre-voting, the lines just aren't that long. They really aren't. They've made it easy. Not as easy as last year. Last year, I loved voting last year. It was so simple. I don't know why it's not that way. And do not tell me it's because of election integrity, because last year's election was the most watched, the most audited, and that's from both sides. Both sides say that. So, okay. Have a good weekend. Take care. Export song to disk. Okay, I got dogs crying. That little motherfucker. Okay. Hold on. What are you crying for? Where are you? Coming back. Whoop, whoop. Okay. By the way, how was the podcast today? Well, with you guys listening. Did I make sense? Did I ramble too long? It's an hour, man. I don't know how the hell you guys listen to me for an hour. Daisy, I love you. My dog had to poop. Poor girl. Sitting by the, and by the way, it's disgusting, but I'm debating whether to take her to the vet because it seems like she's got mucus in her poop. And when you look up mucus and poop online, it says it could be worms. But she seems to be okay. Okay. Active Prater Pro. Brandon, I called you out earlier. Wait, Brandon's Britney bitch, right? I'm confused now, Brandon. You're throwing me off. You Vixie under 10. I continue to say that's a good one. Let's see, did TQQQ come under? No. Man, I don't know what's the deal with Apple. People seem to love Apple. Whoo! Apple's earnings were not this good. Look at this. It opened up. And there's big money here. Let me go settings. I'm going to show you this. Look at the volume at open. Okay, so here's what it is. And my take on it could be completely wrong. But there are significantly more uneducated investors that saw yesterday's Apple numbers that say, hey, they weren't as bad. And everybody say, and you saw this online, they weren't as bad as everybody thinks. Well, they put in their order, which is a market order, because they said, oh, Apple at 146, I'm going to buy it. Well, remember, your brokerage doesn't allow you, unless you actually ask them for after hours buying, doesn't allow you to buy at actual after hours. I don't know what Robinhood does. I'm not talking about Webull. I'm talking your traditional investors and your traditional retail, which is typically people who work 9 to 5 who just put it into an app and may have Fidelity, may have Charles Schwab, may have Bank of America, which is Merrill Lynch, may have things of that sort. They put it in, they buy it, it starts to open up, they see the stuff, and it just takes off. So you've got it up here. So I am making some good money. But we're going to watch TQQQ because that's the one that we're going to look at. And I am going to upload this to podcast. I did get more listens within 24 hours with changing the description. Stefan, man, we don't make fun of people. Meta, by the way, is up $1.60. So no joke. It's doing well. It is a trade. I went over that one. Let me see. 928. Okay, that's the podcast. It is a trade. I can't tell anybody that Meta is a good investment when personally I think that there's a reason Sheryl Sandberg left. What does a little powder sound like? Nah. What's Nightlight? Nah. I don't like the longer ones. Dirt bike lovers. I think I had that one before. I like Rue Severine. We're going to put that one in. That one's kind of a happy one. Here, Meta. It did the same thing. By the way, we're going under 20 on QQQQ. Watch Meta, same thing. Although Meta's had this slow climb. And ignore those long bars down. Something happens in Active Trader Pro. But those long bars down don't always mean stuff. Okay, episodes. More like Meta Bust. Metaverse, more like Meta Bust. I like that title from yesterday. I'll look at SQQQ. Give me 1 second. I think 100 may be a good short-term pivot for Meta. Amazon's coming back too. So here's what you can do. I mean, I think I've talked about this one before, Brandon, is it's lose seats below that 9-day, that green. The Bollinger Bands are syncing up, though. See the VWAP? It's above it. That kind of tells you your trend. I don't know that I'd trust SQQQ, but the trend is kind of going down. TQQQ is probably going up. I should have a monitor. Yeah, see? This is the one I'd rather trade, even though it's coming back down to the VWAP. Anything under 20. Okay, let me do this podcast thingamawhat. Okay, we're going to publish our description, which is going to be Amazon. Apple. I should say big tech or energy. Which should you invest in? 10, 28, 22, market update. To invest in Yeah, dude. Here's the thing that you have to know, Brandon. When I say I don't think, I mean, it's all opinion. You could have your own freaking podcast and talk about it. And you could talk about the exact opposite that I talk about and reasons for it. And if you make sense and it hits with people, you'd become way more popular than I am. Nobody's 100% right. Jim Cramer crying yesterday about him being wrong, he's wrong a lot. So the fact that he finally said that he was wrong shouldn't be celebrated. It should be beaten into his head that he should say it more often. I'll be right back. Don't get me started. Get me fired up here. You know, one thing I didn't talk about on the podcast was Elon taking over Twitter. now I gotta wait for my friend to text me back. Amazon missed, got it down. Intel B. I like QCOM and AMD and NVIDIA. Pins beat across the board. Oh, you know what I didn't do for you, Jesse? I had it in my SpaceX daddy. WCC, let me look at that one for you. I'll pull it back to, let me put it back on Safari. WCC, what is WCC? Is this Western Digital? Westco. That's what you asked about, Jesse, right? WCC? I think it was on Instagram. You sent me a message yesterday. Ooh, this looks juicy. Not as juicy as I first thought, but. Okay, WCC. I would have liked to have seen it come down a little bit more. Because see this dip down, and then at 106, you had a good 26% run here from July 7th to August 24th. You've had a couple of buy-ins here that haven't been great. Let's take it back to these highs. Oh, come on. We're going to bring this back here. And then we're going to look at these shelves. See, so there's a shelf right here, 127 and 129. You're trading at 133. But that volume shelf is building. There's a volume shelf up here at 141. Let's look at WCC here. Jesse, you better still be watching, man. WCC, so their PE is 11. It's an industrial. Let me see what they do. Business, oh, this is a supply chain. Electrical solutions, utility, broadband solutions. Insider Monkey. Let's look at the top one. I hate Insider Monkey because it's like, hey, we have our own thing. Subscribe to our platform for this. Close at 130.73. 1 month return of Westco. Gained 4.75 over the last 52 weeks. Diamond Hill said is a leading distributor of communication materials. More recent quarters showed. Yeah. And see down here, Westco is not in our list of 30 most popular stocks as per our database. Subscribe here. Saks is the same fucking thing. And see, these guys pull you in. And this is just a FinViz Elite. Then you're going back to news that's just too old to even worry about. October 17th, 148 to 150. I mean, that's the problem is you've already run from 128 to 133. I like it, but I don't love it into earnings. I think you'd be better off with like Devon into earnings. And by the way, Devon turned freaking negative. Did the market turn negative? What the hell happened? market hasn't turned negative, it doesn't look like, but who knows if... Chipotle stock has crossed below the lower Bollinger Band. Chipotle's getting killed. Baba is down 4%. Apple's still fucking flying. Jesus. Everything's getting killed. Meta's back up at 100. Morgan Stanley's up. Microsoft is up at 230. Man, Microsoft is just it's gotten killed. Look at this chart. You'd be out of Microsoft with that cross down. Why wouldn't you invest in Microsoft? The volume shelf's above it. So you're trading at about 229, 230. You got 233 in this. So, just Scott text me back. No. Let's look at an oldie but a goodie. DRV. I got you out with a 38% gain. And see how it's tanking? You might take a negative turn next week. Look, it's below the 9-day. So you should have gotten out the candle before, or a couple of candles before, when it kind of breached that. Because see how it's above that 9-day? That was the fake out. But with the additional MACD cross up here, you could have gotten in, but you probably wouldn't have made that much money. Okay. Let me put you back on Active Trader Pro, and I'll continue my description. Okay, we're not going to do that one. I'm not doing WCC because I didn't talk about it, Jesse. Pins beat. We're taking that out. APL. And the Dow are leading this quarter. CVX beats. XOM beats. Options for cash. iBond website is crashing. TQQQ under 20. ENPH. Alternative energy to oil. Boyle scans BABA and UVL. And I think that's good. We'll publish this. I can always edit it if I need to. Let me get this. I got such a long description this time. Amazon, Intel. Pins. Boy, you guys are quiet, man. I'm going to get going because I do want to go and hike with my buddy. We're going to put in Devon, Oxy. What are other? COP, MRO. I wish, man, Why don't I get... This doesn't seem to update. Options. There we go. High volume options. It won't update, man. We'll leave that up. It looks better with more colors. iBond website. SQQQ. SOXL. We're going to do Enphase. And we're going to do this. Talk about next year. Boyle. Scans. Baba. NUVXL. And then R. Maybe we'll type in the top options. "52-week highs." It's not coming up for some reason. I'm going to restart Active Trader Pro. Motherfucker, I missed it below 20 again. I'm going to have to put in a market order. A limit order, I mean, for TQQQ under 20. And I got to check Boyle again. Okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to quit notes. And let's hope this thing starts up. I know I'm not frozen. I know you guys just ain't chatting. Come on. Pull up some actives here. Highest social sentiment. Let's look at that. I don't know why this particular... Man, TQQQ's moving. Is it because of Apple? I think it's all because of Apple. Holy crap. I just looked at my balance. I am up. My portfolio is up 3.2% today. I'm doubling the Dow, tripling the NASDAQ, and tripling the S&P. That's crazy. And it's because Apple's up 7%. I need to call my parents and say, hey, remember when I told you to buy Apple? Under 140? SPRC. We're just going to... We'll put 10. Oh, it's going to ask me to... There we go. We got 3 more. So I can do something with 2. Let's put in Ford. We'll tweet that. Do, 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 do. Tom keeps sending me his plays. Okay, let me see. Thought I froze. I want to look at Chipotle. What's Chipotle stock symbol? CMG. Because I got an alert that one, look at, it's trading outside the Bollinger Band. We're still running. Wow. CMG. Why are we running this much on a Friday? And I want to go back to most actives. We're going to go 2-day, 1 minute. Because is Chipotle crashing? It shouldn't be. There we go. Now we got that one up. The two that I'm obsessed with. Boyle. SOXL. Remember I said, hey, you might want to sell XOXL. It's up. It's up well today, too. Boyle has no confirmation whatsoever. I might get rid of that volume because I don't care about the volume too much. Not on a short-term basis. Oh. See how I said it was trading here? And that's where I wish I would have gotten it. And then I could have traded it for this and then traded it up to probably about here. So 34 to 34.80. And then it just capitulated around here before it just lost its legs. Once it gets under that Bollinger Band, the Bollinger Band, you just don't want to be in it from a 1 minute standpoint. Yeah, I mean, I'll show you kind of. Volume doesn't mean a lot. But when you see this, that's when you can kind of say, hey, it's not sustaining itself. And I want to see, let's look at a 5-day. And see, this, it sustains. This, it doesn't sustain. It just kind of goes flat and it continues just putting, in this, it doesn't sustain. This, the red, you got more sellers than buyers, and that's why it went down. And then you just got this capitulation, and it did, move a little bit. This, you got a good move here, but it's not sustaining the volume. It's just not. And so today, if you go today in a 5-minute chart, you're still kind of within that, but that previous candle that touched the bottom Bollinger Band, I don't trust it. I just don't trust it. And that VWAP is coming down to 34.87. I just don't trust it. Oh, Brandon, you know what? Let me look. I'm going to look at your setup real quick, and I'm going to help you. And I'm probably going to type you. Because, these fuckers on the internets. Let me see. And I'm going to look at this real time. Okay, so you're set up right there. 4 hour, 12:26.9. Okay. 4 hour, 12:26.9. Crossed up. I'm going to put push this out here. Okay, where the fuck did it just go? Ugh, why did it do that? I don't know why it did that, and I don't know where it went. There we go. And you can't see it, so okay. Okay. I'm going to type you back, Brandon. Your script is wrong. It's the sell script that's wrong. The exit. I'm going to type this into you. Okay. Brittany bitch. I sent you an exact look of the sell script on the algorithm. And see, now you can be my witness. It is so simple, it's dumb, right? But it works. And I'm telling you, it doesn't outperform a bull market. But if you pick the right stocks and you pick the right sectors and you pick the right times and the right setups, you should be able to do well in trading. This doesn't do well for, my Apples and my Googles and my Amazons and my oils. And if you find a sector that's running, buy and hold. And that's kind of where I was going with today's, hey, I'm going to look at a sector for you. And I'm going, yeah. I sent you a Twitter message, by the way, Brittany bitch. I love calling you that. Boyle's got no confirmation still. That's a 5-minute chart. Let's see on the 1 minute, though. Nope. I typed you a message, Brandon. I'm giggling about it still. Good, you can't see. I think I can do outside of here. Oh, look. Trending on Twitter is Cramer. Oh, God. Oh, the pictures that they used for Cramer. I'm going to retweet this. I just retweeted it. Go on my Twitter if you want to see the picture that I just retweeted. Let me see. Did Jim Cramer block me yet? No, he has not blocked me. I try not to. I just don't want to get blocked because, not that I want to talk behind his back or anything, but yeah.
No, less than one thing.
I was wrong.
Yeah, let me say this.
I was wrong.
I made a mistake here. I was wrong. I trusted this management team. That was ill advised.
Okay. I am done, fellas and ladies. I am heading out hiking. So you guys, I will be trading TQQQ under 20, and I will be trying to see when Boyle actually crosses up. But holy F, Apple's at 155. Anybody that played Apple before earnings and would have said that you'd be up this much, no freaking way. If you bought Apple yesterday, you're up 7% on the largest stock on the market. You're up 7%. That's just crazy to think about. Yeah, Brandon, you're good. And thank you for being a good sport. I do giggle about that stuff. So, okay, I'm heading out hiking. You guys have a great weekend. Enjoy yourselves. Have fun. Thanks for listening. Support me. Share with your friends.